Hi everyone, so this is part 2. I did a part 1, so you can watch that, but do you know what, you can just listen to this if you want to, and it's about Queenie, the TV programme, and I'm looking at different themes that have come up, especially from a counselling perspective, but also just in terms of, you know, these are all things in this programme, Queenie, that lots of people can relate to. So the cultural identity is a massive thing within this programme. What I like about Channel 4 is the diversity and the fact that you can watch programmes on there that are similar to things that might be on Netflix or on YouTube, because they're very diverse and they're very different. It comes on late at night, this programme, and I think for a reason, because it does kind of, you know, it's not something that would be shown on normal TV in the daytime. So one of the things with the cultural identity is just this theme of Queenie not always knowing where she belongs or where she fits in. So some of her friends are from different backgrounds. So if she goes to parties and things, she might be the only one, the only black woman in that space. At work, she's the only black woman in that space. And it's how she navigates that. And I think it just depends. You can go either way. So for me as a person, if I'm in a situation where I'm the minority or I'm the only person there, as long as I'm comfortable with myself, and as long as someone doesn't say anything to me which crosses a boundary, then I'm fine. Like, I'm never going to be someone that thinks I shouldn't be here, because my feeling is you have the right to be there. If you're invited, you have the right to be there. If it's part of your work, you have the right to be there. I'm never going to be in a situation where I'm looking around and thinking I shouldn't be here. So I think if you come from that perspective, it's easier then for you to tackle when the microaggressions start coming. You can say, well, you know, I'm not got permission. You don't need permission. I'm here because, you know, I'm here in a professional capacity, or I'm here because I was invited to this party. But I think what she's struggling with is because she's had this abandonment issue from her mum. So she hasn't had, her dad hasn't been in her life, her mum hasn't been there to guide her. So if you don't have either parent kind of holding you up, so for me, because my mum is a strong Jamaican woman, we grew up with that. So regardless of whether, you know, things were happening at school or in the community, we come from a really strong Jamaican household, and our mum was always like really proud of us. And then I've got a Ghanaian dad, and he was really proud, and he was really, you know, instilling lots of like wisdom in us. And so I think that's where my strength comes from as a person. And I think if you have that, it's easier to navigate when some of these other things are happening. But if you don't have that, and then in your relationships you also don't have that, your identity is constantly going back and forth. Who am I? Do I deserve to be here? In one scene, someone said to her, no, that's why nobody likes you. And then she was kind of embodying that. She was saying it to the therapist. She was saying, no one wants me, no one likes me. And I think if kind of a lot of people are walking around with not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy enough, not feeling black enough, not feeling thin enough, you know, not feeling clever enough, and it's all coming from somewhere. And if you can identify where it's come from, where the roots of it are, you can work on it. But you also can teach yourself that you don't have to feel like that. Just because other people think that, it doesn't mean you have to embody it, you don't have to absorb it. So the cultural identity sides are coming from all over the place. This idea that she also doesn't date black men, and she's a black woman. And it's not just to do with preference. I think part of that is coming up because she's been in a domestic violence household where her, when she was younger, where her mum's partner was abusive. So she probably views black men in a particular way. And I think the other thing that really came up here was to do with the attitudes towards therapy. So when Queenie actually does access therapy finally, because everyone is saying you need to see a therapist, the grandma is really against it. And this was so like relatable, because within black communities a lot of the time, and other communities as well, the idea of going to speak to a counsellor is seen as no, you don't take your problems to someone outside of the house. There's a lot of secrecy around like people, abuse is a big one. You know, there's so many young people, and it's not just within the black community, but where abuse is classed as, you know, we don't talk about this. We don't go to social services about it. We don't talk to the church about it. We keep this within the household. There's this level of secrecy. There's this level of, you know, it's a bad thing. It's almost like you're snitching. Why are you going to a counsellor to talk about our business? Why are you going to the church to talk about the business? And it's really causes a lot of issues, because if there's domestic violence or there's sexual abuse or there's things that are going on which are bad, or there's mental health issues, a lot of times families will be more concerned with how they look in the community, and they'll be more concerned with, you can't go and talk to someone about this. I don't want my daughter being diagnosed with depression. I don't want my son taking tablets. I don't want my person being viewed in this way in the church. It's really damaging, and we've seen lots of cases over the years where, I mean, you can talk about cases like Victoria Climbier and other cases where there should have been more done, and where it's just seen as, you don't go there. So that cultural bit, when she was in the taxi and the grandma was saying, why are you going to see the counsellor, and why are you talking about our business and stuff? But eventually her husband was able to say, it's a different generation, and we should be encouraging people to be able to talk about how they feel. It was really powerful. So the final thing, really, which really led into the last 2 episodes that I watched last night, was around how this is relatable to everyone. All it takes sometimes is 3 negative events that can sort of take anyone down a different path. So the 3 significant events that happened, the first one was the person that she was having like a fling with, the wife of that person attacked her in the street. Didn't physically attack her, but literally was shouting names at her, saying, who do you think you are sleeping with my husband? She didn't know he was married, but she still recognised within herself that she didn't even want to be in that sort of interaction with that person, but she was using him to get over the pain of her breakup. But when that happened in the street in public, where she was shamed, what are you doing flirting with my husband? Who do you think you are? And then the church person on the side was calling her a harlot and calling her names. I think she just felt a sense of shame. It was like a big thing. So when that happened, she then went into work. The second major event was that the person that she had sex with on the bathroom floor at work, a work colleague, which was just nothing she would normally do, but she, again, was just self-destruction, self-sabotage. He went to HR and said that she'd sexually assaulted him. So because he was shameful, because his wife came into work, and then the wife said, you've been at it again. So the wife knows he's a cheater, or he gets, she knew, she just picked up a vibe. He didn't want to get into trouble with his wife. So he said, she's assaulted me or whatever. Now, the shameful thing was that Queenie was stood there with people in her workplace who believed what he said. So she was suspended, and she said, how can you believe this? This was not something I would do. And her boss kind of just said, we have to suspend you and look into it. So it was humiliation. It was the fact that he would do something like that. It was the fact that they believed it. So she was already in a state of crisis. So these 2 events happened. The final thing that happened, which led to sort of a bit of a mental breakdown, was she then was in a lot of pain because she'd been suspended from work. It just showed her kind of literally just lost. So then she contacted her boyfriend. She walked in the rain to her boyfriend's house, her ex, who they were on a break from, buzzed in. And then she was talking to him about how she feels. She was thinking, okay, we can get back together. And then his new girlfriend came down the stairs. So she wasn't aware that he was dating someone else. It was seen, that his new girlfriend, who was completely different to her as well, I think that had a big impact because he's white, and then he's got this white blonde woman walking down the stairs. She's like a black woman, have been in an interracial relationship. I'm sure when she saw this woman, she's thinking, oh, completely different from me. So at that point she said, I hope she's not too much for you. So again, it's that feeling of like, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. Now he's got someone who might match. So she left after those 3 events happened. I think she was having like a mental breakdown because it showed that she was then in the bath, and she was like going into, it was like when she's rocking backwards and forwards, and she's probably detaching. She was just mentally going through something. So luckily someone called, I think a cousin or someone got her into therapy. So that was the next scene where she was actually speaking to a therapist. Now, I don't know how accurate as well that was, because personally, I don't know if it would go like that. In some situations it would, but I didn't. I felt that it would be more of if someone saw someone in that state. I think they'd say, call, we need to take her to the doctor, or they'd say, you know, they'd wrap her up. And I don't know if it would go from that to someone saying she needs therapy. So the writers, I think, kind of did it that way, but I don't know if that would have been the next step. Normally, in most households, I wouldn't say it would be that, but it did show her going to see the therapist. And the key thing with that was that can be anyone. If you have three things, there's lots of research around this. Maybe you get laid off from your job, then the next minute you have a bereavement, then you have a breakup. So they're saying three significant events that happen like in conjunction with each other can lead to anyone's mental health suffering. And I think there's loads of evidence to say that. So the key thing with that really is, you know, you always have to have a circle of resources around you. Resources can include people, it can include things that you do, habits and routines, it can include places that you go to. Even for me as a counsellor, you know, booking short breaks, spending time with like my family, even especially the kids, taking like my nieces, nephews out, just being very focused on personal development, being focused on a positive mental well-being, you know, in terms of just keeping myself sane. Everyone has to do it, but it is really hard to do. And I think because Queenie had got herself into this situation where she had slept with these men, and then she found out one of them was her friend's, oh, that was the other significant event, the fourth one, sorry, was the person she'd been sleeping with was her friend's boyfriend, and she didn't know. And so that friend said to her, you know, no wonder no one likes you. The friend went crazy at her, but she didn't know that he was her boyfriend. And I think losing her friend as well, that was another thing. So if you imagine 4 significant things, one after the other, are just piling down on her. And so in the end, it led to a mental breakdown. So I think this is a really significant program. I think lots of people can relate to it. I think there's lots of things there that we can learn from. There's lots of things that are relatable. And yeah, that's why I really just wanted to make these 2 videos about it. And you can see the live stream that I've done about the TV program as a whole on my YouTube channel. No, it's on my Facebook page, Marianne Hanson Counselling Service. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments. Let me know if you've watched the program and what your thoughts are. Thanks for watching.